Hi, I'm Wendell G. Welcome back to the Worldtopia Baseball League. Today is Thursday. February something. February 23rd, 2045. We still got snow. Still minus 20 here in Moscow. How's it feel down there in Key West, Gook? Is it kind of nice and warm down there?
Yeah, pretty warm, but
Pretty warm.
technically, I'm in Salt Lake.
Really? Salt Lake, huh? Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, yeah, I got Gooksta here. He's going to give us some guest commentary on first round draft with a feature on Key West, who owned about half of the first round draft this year. So Gooksta, I'm kind of dying to know, as spring training is approaching in about 1 week in game, why did you go all in for first round picks this year?
Total rebuild. I'm trying to totally rehaul my roster, looking towards the future.
Okay.
So I wanted to get as high in the draft as possible to get guys who'd be able to make the big leagues for me. I didn't want to sit back and wait for round picks or late first round picks and hope some of these guys who are tweeners to hopefully make it or not make it.
Right. So you felt pretty good about this year's draft then?
I mean, I think this year's draft is kind of average on looking at everything, like with some of the good drafts and some of the bad drafts. This one's kind of average, but I mean, I think it's easier to make picks or get trades in for this draft than future drafts. People seem to hold value to future draft picks a little higher.
Yeah, I do. I hate to trade future draft picks, man. I'm like, I don't know. I can deal the coming year's draft picks, but anything beyond that, I get real reluctant to move those. I don't know why. I guess who knows what the future is going to bring, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty with this future. So my thing, let's just try to get as many good guys as I could get in this draft and deal with next year.
Okay, well, you started with the 1-3 pick, so you want to tell us about that?
Roca, infielder, middle infielder, pretty much decent all around, can run okay, can field okay, decent intangibles, so I figured, middle infield, left side of the infield is kind of weak throughout the whole league. So I want to make sure I got the best one available, so I traded up, make sure I got it. And
I'll give away a little bit of proprietary info. My scout here with Moscow thinks that Roca is pretty much the number 2, maybe even the number 1 player in the draft. So, yeah, he thought very highly. Well, my scout didn't think that highly of this year's draft, but he did think that Roca, along with John Funk, were the cream of the crop this year.
Funk, I would say Funk's bat. I mean, he has an impact bat, so he's just offensively, he's going to be an impact player, I think. But I wanted to go, I'm going to, like I said before, I'm going to try 80s Cardinals with defense and speed, so Roca more what I wanted to do.
Well, I made my living off of pitching back in the UBL, but that hadn't worked out for me this year. So do you think defense and speed will work in the WBL?
I don't know. We'll find out. I don't know. Running and stealing bases, I'm not sure how much offense I can generate with that. I'm going to need 1 or 2 boppers probably in my lineup, but, I can work it out a little down the road. Right.
Well, is this sort of do you have, in this year's draft, do you have the nucleus of your team together already, or are you still going to be building it in the next draft, do you think?
I think it's more, I think the nucleus will come from future draft picks. I think these guys are more complementary kind of guys. I don't think there's a franchise type guy. Maybe, maybe the pitcher I got, what was his name?
Steven Adams.
Steven Adams. Yeah. He might be pretty good. I think Captain's going to be like a 4 or 5 type guy. Aguilar is going to be a defensive catcher, maybe a backup, but these guys are going to be, I think, complementary guys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think neither of them. I don't think any of them is going to be a star except for maybe Steven Adams.
Okay. So you see Adams he's got some elite star potential?
Possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's got a high work ethic. What do you think? How do you weigh in on the intelligence and work ethic thing? Do you think those are big?
Yeah, I think those are pretty big. I mean, just not those two alone.
Mm-hmm.
I think what is it, 6 of them? All 6 of them kind of intermingle with each other.
Okay.
But I do think work ethic is very important. I think work ethic has a lot to do whether a guy hits his full potential or goes beyond it.
Okay.
So if it's low or very low, he might not even hit his full potential.
Mm-hmm.
I have some theories on some things, but I keep them to myself.
Okay. Can't pry those out from you. Okay. All right. Well, maybe we'll get them from you on another call. One thing I have kind of noticed here in OOTP 15, and I never noticed it in 14 or in 13, is that there are some guys who have been around for a long time in the farm system, and they just keep their potential just keeps going up and up and up. Orlando was talking about one of his pitchers. I can't remember the guy's name, but he posted today on the forum. One of his pitchers was is one of those guys who, if you look at his history, he came into the league like maxed out at like 40 stuff and 35 movement and 40 control or something like that. And so he came in unheralded, but it's like every year or two he would bust through those potential rating ceilings. And so I have seen a few of those guys in OOTP 15, and it's rapidly becoming one of my favorite aspects of this game.
Yeah, that's actually something I try to look for, with those intangibles with guys in the late rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I have my own theories on how those work. So I look for certain things for guys in late rounds, see if I can get a diamond in the rough or a late bloomer or something like that.
Right. So you went with Roca, shortstop Roca, in your 1-3 pick. Did you feel like he was the best player available, or was he the best middle infielder available?
Yeah, I thought he was the best middle infielder available. Once Funk and what's his name, who went number 1, Fred Smith went.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like I would have taken Funk if he was available, just because I think he'd be an impact bat.
Right.
I would have taken Funk if Mike didn't take him.
Right.
But when he went, I decided to go with Roca and try to get a middle infielder. Usually, early in the draft, if I have a high draft pick, I'm looking for a middle of the diamond, middle of the lineup type player.
Okay. Ideally.
So, yes.
There's very darn few of those in the WBL, though. They're very rare.
Yeah, so that's why I went after Roca.
Yeah. What'd you think, just out of curiosity, the 1-4 pick? Yankee and I were talking about this the other day. Edward Moon, center fielder Edward Moon with the riffraff, that the New Zealand Kiwis took at the 1-4. Did you think that was a solid pick at 1-4?
At 1-4, I thought it was a slight reach at 1-4. I think the pitchers have more value there.
Right.
With Adams, Hinchcliffe available.
Right.
Even the Brett Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
With those guys available, I think those guys give you a little more value at 1-4.
Okay.
But he got a center fielder who can run, play some defense. So it just comes down to preference. But I think value-wise, I think he might have been able to get a little more value out of Hinchcliffe or Adams there.
Mm-hmm. What did you think about, on that note, what did you think about the Crawdads pick at 1-1 of Fred Smith?
Let's see. I mean, his projections are huge, He's going to be a good contact hitter. If he can, he's 18. I'm kind of skeptical on high schoolers.
Yeah,
So
you said you got burned a few times on high schoolers.
yeah, they're typically high schoolers are boom or bust. You know what
Right.
I mean? So
Uh-huh.
I would say they're would wait until a little later in the draft, or if you're a winning team like OU, where you can kind of afford to take a risk that early,
Mm-hmm.
then when he got Razor like 2 years ago or last
Right.
year's draft,
Mm-hmm.
like if you're a winning team, you can make that risk.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for value wise, I think if you're that early in the draft, you want a little something more
Mm-hmm.
stable. You know what I mean? And that's just my opinion, but
No, I hear you. I hear you, bro. Hear you, bro. I feel the same way. I really, I mean, I not only do I feel the same way, but historically, the draft is such a risk. Every player in the draft is a risk, and I would just much rather look at minor leaguers, and current big leaguers, and do my work, do my trading, and I'd much rather trade away my draft and take guys that I've had a few years to evaluate in somebody's minor league farm team or something like that. I think I'm unusual though. I think most of the GMs in our league seem to really enjoy the draft.
yeah,
You seem to enjoy it a lot.
yeah, I like it. It's probably the first part for me.
Mhm.
But as far as like high schoolers early, I mean, if you're gonna pick that early,
Mhm.
I mean, if you're trying to rebuild your team, I mean, you can't miss on those early picks.
Right. Right.
So if you get a high school kid and he turns out to be a bust, I mean, that just kills your rebuild. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. If you're a team in need of a rebuild, right? I totally agree. Well, I mean, you say that, and now I'm like, there's one guy in the draft who is pretty much can't miss, and that's that closer, John Chapman. Now, would you advocate taking a closer that early in the draft?
Me, no. I mean, where he went is about where I would take him, anywhere from maybe 16 down.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
closer.
you had a chance at him. You could have taken him at 115, but you passed on him.
Yeah, I mean, he does me no good right now.
Right.
I mean,
True. That's true. You're right.
if he comes up in a year or two and does okay, I mean, my team's still gonna be
Right.
is gonna be crap. So all I'm doing is dealing with him, and I mean, what am I gonna get for a relief pitcher? You know what I mean? I'm gonna get like maybe a second round pick if I'm lucky.
True. Good point. So Adams. So in your 1-5 pick, you went with Adams. You think he may be you put him at maybe a number 2 rotation guy, maybe a number 3. Would he?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Hopefully a number 2. I'm looking at him as a number 3 guy probably.
Okay.
2.
Cool. So in your 113 pick, your next pick, you took another starting pitcher, Ray Chapman.
Yeah, I really wanted Conley. I was trying to get up. I was trying to move up. I was trying to move up.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to get Wolfman to trade me that pick,
Mm-hmm.
but he said he had a guy, and he said you're gonna have to give me a good offer, and the offer I gave him wasn't good enough, and then he took him.
Okay.
So Chapman was rated on my board. I had Chapman right below Conley, so I took Conley. And then I heard you and Yankee talking about Doe's pick.
Yeah, Doe Yankee is a big fan of David Fernandez, the 116 pick. How did you evaluate Fernandez?
He was pretty high on my board, but I looked, on my Excel sheet. I did the Excel sheet for the pitchers. He was pretty high. The only thing I didn't like was that 45 stamina.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That one thing. Usually, if a starting pitcher has a stamina below 50,
Mm-hmm.
someone in his career usually he's going to have some type of major arm injury.
And which is often going to knock the stamina down a little bit.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So basically, you're seeing a pitcher like Fernandez has the risk that maybe one major injury and his stamina drops from 45 to 35, and suddenly he's no longer a starting pitcher.
Right, and then he becomes a bullpen guy.
Fascinating. Yankee said something the other day. That's really interesting. I'm going to remember that. Yankee told me something the other day. He said he won't even take a pitcher with a fragile rating in the draft, and that's something. Back in the UBL, I gradually started to break that rule. I kind of started off with that idea myself, but I started going away from it. But it's true that OOTP, it's a lot easier and faster to go to a poorer injury rating than it is to go to a better injury rating. You do see guys going from durable to Ironman, but it's a slow process. And it's much faster that you see a guy going from durable to normal to fragile to wrecked.
Right. I totally agree with Yankee on that. On my spreadsheet, I give everything kind of a number rating. So like durability or stamina, if they're fragile, I have it set up where it gives them like a -100, so they're not even.
Wow.
So they never come onto my board if they're fragile.
Wow. Interesting. That is good to know. It's interesting. So let's see. So you're after starting off with shortstop Roberto Roca, you picked up Steven Adams and Ray Chapman. How do you project Chapman? Is he going to be He's going to be a rotation guy about maybe? Oh, he could run maybe a number 3 or number 4 guy.
I'm projecting probably a 4 or 5 guy. I wanted to get a lefty also. So I mean. I try to get at least one lefty a year.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
So he was the best lefty available.
Okay.
So that's why I took him, and I liked his movement and his control. He has 3 pitches. I usually don't like starting pitchers with 2. With only pitches. That's why I stayed away from Wolfman Sargent.
Right.
And I believe
Wolfman technically has a third pitch, but it's a really crappy third pitch.
Yeah, if it's a crappy third pitch, I just see it as 2 pitches. I stay away from it, and also that's why I stayed away from Jimmy Machado also. But Jimmy Machado is interesting just because his pitches are so good. He's got a 65 fastball and a 70 slider. He might be able to as a starter possibly. But I'm skeptical of those 2-pitch starting pitchers. They usually end up getting shelled late in games around the 6th, 7th inning. So. From what I've seen.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. In the UBL, there were some pitchers that made a living off of 2 pitches. There were some starting pitchers. At the one guy for was it Fignuts' team, or was it Winnipeg? I can't remember who it was, but there was one of the best starting pitchers in the league just had 2 pitches. But I don't see that in OOTP 15, and I kind of think that's gone away. I think they coded the game away from that. Yeah,
I think so. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I think starting pitcher can have success with just 2 pitchers. But from my experiences, it's like it's not even worth. In the first round, it's not even worth risking it. You know, maybe I get in the second round or maybe late first. But when I'm that early in the draft where I was picking, I rather go with a guy with 3 or 4 pitches than a guy with 2.
Right. So 2 of your first 3 picks were starting pitchers. Your 4th pick in the first round was catcher Bill Aguilar. What was your thoughts on this guy?
I wanted a strong defensive catcher, so he fit that bill, and he has some offensive potential. With, I mean, 45 contact, 50 gap, 50 power, and then with his very high intelligence, work ethic, or maybe if I can get a ratings bump somewhere there, like maybe turn his contact into a 50 or a 55 or something like that, or maybe eye gets better, then he's a very solid catcher.
Right. Very solid catcher, particularly a late innings kind of a catcher where you need that defense.
Right. The way as he stands up now, you know, he's a solid second catcher, backup guy. If he gets a ratings bump somewhere on his bat, then he can possibly be an everyday guy. That's the way I saw it.
Awesome.
And then you guys, you and Osick were talking about maybe the catcher rating
Mm-hmm.
helping pitchers.
Yeah, the catcher ability. Yeah.
I was going to give that a try too, so that's where I went with that.
To me, the jury is still out. I like the idea of it. I'm sold on the idea of it. Whether it actually works or not, I don't know. I looked at my team last year, and Payway has a very high catching ability. So you would think his catcher's ERA was good, but in point of fact, Zippo's catcher ERA was better than Payway's last year. And I was like, what the heck? You know, that makes no sense at all. But maybe that's I know, you know, Payway was going through a growth process, and I think he's there now. I think he's going to explode this year, both offensively and defensively. 2 years ago, he got a Gold Glove position at catcher. So I think he kind of had a slump last year, but I like the idea. I like to believe in the idea of a catcher's ability and helping the pitchers' rotations ERA and helping them to have better numbers. I'm not sure I've seen it. I'm not sure I've seen proof of it, but I sure would like to believe it.
Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on it this year and see what happens. It was an interesting theory, and I mean, I'm going to need good defense if I'm not going to have home run hitters in my lineup. So I'm going to seeing how all of that works out.
We were talking earlier before we went live about ballpark factors, and what are Key West's current ballpark factors, and do you plan to make any changes to that?
My ballpark is kind of small, and plus it's AstroTurf.
Oh, okay.
But I do plan on making changes. If and when we do that, I'm going to make it a big, spacious ballpark. I'm probably going to keep the AstroTurf, though, since I'm going to go with base running ability and stealing bases as a part of my offense. So I'll keep the AstroTurf, help my guys get on base better, more base hits I'm getting. But I do plan on changing it to make it a bigger ballpark, a bigger outfield. Hopefully give my speed guys in the outfield a little advantage when other teams come into the ballpark.
Nice. In other words, you're going to punish a team like Yankees who comes in with zero outfield range, and you're going to make them go running, trotting into the gaps to pick up all these doubles and triples your guys are hitting out there.
Right, and try to hit doubles and triples and try to take away base hits with outfield good speed and range.
Nice. Very good. Do you have did anything surprise you out of this year's first round?
No, I mean, I think everybody drafted pretty well. I mean, I can see picking Edward Moon. I can see why. I mean, he can be a decent leadoff if he develops. I thought it was a little bit of a reach there, but again, it just goes to what you want.
Sure. And we know Mr. Radpants likes his speed and stealing ability. So that's probably exactly what he was looking for, was a leadoff type hitter there. Just a tic-tac guy who can get on base and give you an immediate small ball scoring threat.
Right. And then, let's see. One pick that was a little puzzling was the Ray Lewis pick. I'm kind of big on eye. So, I mean, even with that 60 power, I mean, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to hit more than 230 with that eye. Might be able to hit maybe 15, 20 homers, and his defense and his base running is kind of marginal. Right. So I thought that was a slight reach, but some guys just like power. I liked Orlando's pick, Craig Decker, third base. Thought that was good.
Yes, I like that pick. Decker was one of the guys. He was either number 1 or 2 on my draft board, which I didn't even compose a draft board until we got through the first, 14 or 15 guys, because what's the point, you know? why put fantasy on my board, you know? So I didn't even compose a board until we got through the first 15 or so, and I think Decker was either number 1 or number 2 on my list, and I was kind of sorry to see him go. I really like that pick myself.
Yeah, I like that pick, and I like that Lance Steele pick. I was hoping he'd fall to me somewhere in the second round. Guy with high intangibles, decent range and outfield ratings, good runner. He can play all 3 spots. Probably need to get a little better in center, though. But if he can play right, he's got a pretty good arm. Can run. He's one of those high school kids that maybe, gets with his intangibles, gets a ratings increase somewhere with his bat and turns into a better shows, you know what I mean?
So he's got a very high work ethic and high intelligence. So good combination.
Yeah, and he's rated as a shortstop 25, so maybe even if you can try him at shortstop for a couple games during the year and see how that turns out.
He's got good range in the infield, 60 range. That's plenty enough to be a shortstop. His arm, though, that 40 arm, he's going to be hard to make. It's going to be hard for him to make throws across the diamond, deep in the hole. So.
That is true. But he could play possibly. Well, yeah. I'd probably stay away from that. Probably keep him center or right in the outfield. That's decent.
He could, especially like in the late innings when the AI starts doing its craziness. He won't hurt you too much, pretty much anywhere in the infield. So.
He's got a lot of value. Late game pinch runner. Late game defensive replacement possibly. He could be a 4th outfielder type who can add a lot of value to your bench.
Nice. What are your thoughts on? We've got a couple of minutes here. What are your thoughts on expansion? Do you like the expansion?
Oh yeah, the more the better, I think. I mean, how about you?
I'm pretty excited about it too. I'm really glad to get a couple more guys in the league, and it's going to create some new rivalries. Especially B-Dub today decided his team is headquartered in New Zealand, and that's a natural rivalry with Australia. So yeah, and this is going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I mean, the more ideas you can put on the board, the more interesting the league gets. You know what I mean?
That's true. Every GM can bring his own idea of, like you, bringing defense and speed, and everybody brings their own idea of the right. For me, it's going to be pitching, and I don't think that's ever going to change. I keep trying to learn my lesson, but I don't. So I think for me, it's always going to be all about the pitching, and if the guys hit, they hit. If they defend, they defend. But really, all I care about is the guy on the mound. So, and then you've got Yankee, who, for him, pitching and defense are second thoughts. It's all about the bat at the plate. So, yeah, it is going to be fun. And I was thinking about this today. I kind of think it's going to be a situation where, because we have more teams in the league, the elite guys are going to be spread more thinly. And
right.
I think it's kind of going to naturally be, I don't know, more of a level field, because it's going to be like if Moscow has got 4 amazing, like we got 4 aces in the rotation, I'll be looking around going, wow, Lisbon's got this center fielder that I really, really like. I wonder if I could move one of my aces to Lisbon. So I think it's going to be, a wider field to spread the talent around. And
I think it's going to make free agency a little more interesting. 2 more teams with maybe some more payroll, maybe up some of those free agent contracts, make contracts a little more ridiculous and a little more interesting during the offseason.
Kind of like Dominique. Excuse me, man. Kind of like Dominique Garnett. He's up to about $30 million now.
Yeah, I would say he's worth it though. If you're a winner, you can add him to your ball club. He's a huge impact player. So.
Yeah, he is. You know what? And all this thinking I've been doing about Moscow, I'm going to be without him this year, and that's going to make me a worse team. So. Yeah, I don't know how I replace a guy like that. I don't guess I do. So, I'll
You
just
gotta
be,
you gotta find a way to find those small edges to make up certain losses. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, I don't. I don't. And that's why my team's going to suck this year.
I
So who do you like in the North League this year? I'm going to put you on the spot.
well, Amsterdam. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
until they start winning, I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
pick Amsterdam,
Yep.
and then Helsingborg.
Yep.
I know, OU's trying to dump some guys, so it's gonna be. I still like Amsterdam. Helsingborg's right there.
Yep. I agree.
Uh,
What about
that
Vegas? Vegas has made some moves.
Yeah, and it looks like Vegas is going for. He says he's going for the chip.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a decent team. He's got a good team too. He beat Helsingborg in the playoffs, right? So
Right. Mm-hmm.
so yeah, he's right there, and I think you could be right there too. I mean, I think
Mm-hmm.
just your offense just struggled so badly at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that happens again. I think it's just one of those OTP things where they just schedule,
Mm-hmm.
a down for some guys sometimes or teams.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. We're going to be without Marrero this year, and he was really big for us last year. So
And Yankees right there too. So
yes, he is.
as long as he
Mm-hmm.
he stays on the road and
Mm-hmm.
doesn't go off course and try to start
Blow it up.
blow it up. And but
Yeah.
he's right there. I mean, there's 4 or 5 teams that are right there.
And
But until
Soul's always going to be a dark horse with that shortstop, and man, they got some fantastic players in the Soul organization. Noda, as long as they got Noda,
yeah,
I don't know. Mm.
and Carrier, Frederic Carrier.
Yep, Carrier.
Yeah, I mean those. Just build around those 2 guys. He's gonna be a force.
Yeah.
And then yeah, he'll be fine. I mean, he's gonna probably have to start finding a guy to replace Clinch. Clinch is around 36. He needs
Mm-hmm.
to get pitching, but get some young pitching and get some guys who can get on base in front of Noda and Carrier.
Right.
I think he'll be with Noda and Carrier alone. I mean, he's good for the next decade, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Who do you like in the South League?
South is kind of up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cabo makes a big step this year.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo, I would say Buffalo if I had to choose a team.
Yeah.
I think Cabo makes a big step up. Cairo's got a good offense. And then JD with his pitching staff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So, are you going to be? Is it going to be a two-way battle between Key West and Baton Rouge for the 1-1 pick next year?
I think so. I think so.
Oh man, come on, compete!
No, I'm in tank mode right now. So
Oh God, one of you guys needs to be on my side of the fence here. Is there anybody in the North League who's going to be in tank mode this year?
just maybe Lisbon,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean he's got picked some decent free agents. He could be decent, and then let's see, and then Rutgers Mike has made some great moves, and
Oh
he
yeah.
made trades with me, so
Mm-hmm.
he's added some depth to his pitching staff. He's made some good moves, so I don't think he's going to be all that bad.
Berlin's not going to be a pushover this year. That is for sure.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
he made a lot of huge steps to make his team a lot better.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
He had a really
Yeah.
good draft.
yeah, he did,
Mm-hmm.
and he's starting to build a core for his minor league system. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he's a team to look out for. So I think it's going to be me and Baton Rouge for the 1-1.
For the 1-1.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just got one request. Play me more often. So.
I'm looking forward to playing me on their schedule, that's for sure.
Oh man. Well, all right, man. Well, thanks for the call. We got to do this again. Well, that's the thoughts from at Gooksta here in the week before spring training 2045, looking ahead towards the new year, and it's going to be a fun one. Thanks a lot, man.
All right,
And
thanks, man.
thank you guys for listening in, and we'll check in with you next time.